right, guys, welcome to the Buff Show. We got a full house today. We got Ben, Cade, and the two Paydens.
Flavin, other Flavin.
So this is going to be a good one. We're doing a market update, and we are, what's today, October 14th?
Yep.
And we are reviewing September's numbers that just barely came out. And I recruited all these guys to come in here because it's an interesting... Yeah, get your mic ready.
It was about your left field looking at me.
It's been an interesting market. So what we got interest rates, they're like low 6s right now. I've got a few buyers qualified and I've even seen some high 5s, but I think that's buying down the rate a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But it's cheap
6s
right now because they're projecting rates are going to drop. So a 6-1.
Oh, so it's cheaper to buy.
Yep.
That's interesting.
I just did one a 6.12 to a 5.8, and it was like $1,400.
Really?
That's it.
Yep.
Really? That's good.
Yep.
That's good to know.
So,
Government's shut down right now.
government shut down right now. God bless our tax dollars.
And which is a problem if you have a USDA loan.
Yep. It's also a problem. I actually lost a buyer on a sell I had, getting ready to go on a contract, and she works for the IRS. She doesn't know when she's going to get another paycheck.
Do you by any chance know if it's a problem with a VA loan? We were talking about this morning.
Yeah, it's still a government-backed loan.
So VA loans are shut down as well.
FHA, VA.
I had one close like just barely that was VA.
That's nice that
That
you're closed
was
now.
lucky.
That'd
Jeez,
suck to get to the...
Count your blessings.
How would that work in a contract? That'd be wild, huh?
I think you'd just be pooched if you're past your financing and appraisal, but that's why you want to make sure everything's done and done.
Nothing you can do. Yeah.
That's wild. Well, let's jump into this. So we're going to talk September numbers. We're gonna look at the normal stats that we look at. This is interesting, and we're gonna have a good discussion. So
all right, so we're gonna start with new listings, September of 24 to September of 25. We've had a 3.3% increase, 5,209 houses this month, and last year at this month, 5,042 houses. So about 180 homes more in Utah that have been listed in the month of September. So slight increase, but not what we've seen in the past. That seems good, but we've seen one negative month. And for the past year, we've been mid 10 to 20% increases. So slow creep.
And if you look at the graph, I'd anticipate next month will be probably 500 less homes. And once we get into like December-ish, we're sub 4,000 homes being listed. So like it's definitely dropping as we go into winter.
Right. Next, we'll do pending sales. So this is a count of the properties on which offers have been accepted in a given month. So going from September of 2024, we had 3,163. And then September 2025, we're down 10%. 10.8% to 3,547. So I do think that's pretty common though. This time of year though,
but not near year over year. Like this is comparing the same month. I don't understand that number.
What do you mean you don't understand the number?
I don't understand how we're down.
How we're down?
Yeah, that's a huge drop in a fairly stagnant market. Right? I don't know what would have caused that.
I think what it is the futures are looking bright. So, but it hasn't happened yet. So
do you think people are holding and waiting to see what spring brings?
Exactly. Everyone's been talking rate drops. Feds have been talking. Agents have been getting on their podcasts saying get ready, and then everything kind of came to a screeching halt with the government shut down. Rates didn't quite drop as hard as we thought. The stock market didn't move. Everything's just really stagnant.
So, and these are all the these are all the deals that went under contract in September, and that's when rates really started dropping. I feel like, that's interesting.
I think anecdotally we're seeing the same thing though. We're not having a lot of conversations with the buyers right now. It doesn't seem like, or I'm not at least anyways.
Yeah. You got a lot of listings though.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of. I feel like you always have 2 or 3 people that are contacting you every week or something about buying. But this week, these last couple of weeks have just been. And
I feel like I'm having a ton of conversations with buyers, but they're all waiting for something. They got to sell a house, they want to buy, but
there's no
just
rush.
not. Yeah,
there's no
urgency. yeah,
They're waiting until next spring.
possibly, yeah, for whatever reason.
which is horrible for a buyer.
Yeah. Closed
Gonna get a
sales.
competitive market, yeah.
Okay, so closed sales, count of actual sales that close in a given month, we are up 4.8%. This year we hit 3,649.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
That's crazy, though. I mean, the fact that we've got
Your
10% less pending.
Pending sales are down, but your closed sales are up.
Yeah, but these
the
the
close-
closed sales, these went under contract in like July
Right.
and
Oh,
August.
that's true.
Yep.
I don't know why pending went down and that much. A 10% drop is kind of weird. In the month of September, I'm just trying to think. Like rates dropped. There was
There was a
political-
big
there
rate
was-
drop in
I just,
August, wasn't it? The end of August, and the rates came down big
I
right
feel,
there.
I feel like it was in September, but
First of
maybe it
September.
was.
Here's kind of a crazy stat to look at too. On your pending sales in August of 2025, we had 3,855 pending sales, and we closed in September. And mind you, there's some might bleed over the month before. That's a pretty good close rate at 3,649 of about 3,800 pendings.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you're seeing a lot more people that are buying with a stronger intent when they do go to the go to the table.
That's interesting.
So I could see why closed sales are more.
I also
Yeah.
think that the market's a little bit slower, and sellers are willing to give
Figure
a
it
little,
out.
and get it sold, basically.
Some are. I think it depends on who wants it more, who
Sure.
needs it more, right? Whoever needs it more loses in this.
Power in real estate is
Yeah.
whose motivation's
Higher.
better. Yep.
Yeah.
Worse. The
Makes
more
you
motivated
lose.
you are, actually isn't great because time on market is your power.
Right.
You don't have to sell. You can wait for a good offer. If you don't have to buy, you can wait for a good
Yeah.
sell. So
If price is your leading indicator, right?
correct.
All right, days on market until sale. Average number of days between when a property is listed and when an offer is accepted in a given month. For September of 2025, we were at 64. For September of 2024, we were at 54 for an increase of 18.5%. So your days on market's increasing as we go into winter, which that's not weird. But the days on market has been increasing consistently for the last
12.
for the last year. That is weird.
What is still weird to me, because we're going to get into the prices then, you'd think as days on market increases, we would start to see prices pull back. But I feel like we still haven't hit that threshold where homes are sitting on the market long enough that prices start pulling back, right?
I think we're right on the precipice.
I think we are right on that for sure. But, and if you look back in 2008, like 75 days on market seemed like about when things like started, like once it went over 75 days on market, it went up to like 130, 140, and it sat up there for a while, like 125. It was above that for a few years. And that's when I think you saw prices pull down the most. We're still fairly like reasonable average home being on the market, 2 months before they have an offer and then another month to close. That's 90 days. That's not terrible.
I do think that in the next month or two, you're going to start seeing 75 days or more.
Maybe
I think that's going to start. I think that graph is going to continue to trend
You
up.
think you will? I mean, you do see the curve, like that J curve. So
I think it'll continue to trend up. For
I
the
would
next 2
agree.
months.
I would agree for the next 2 months we will be over 75, but I think we'll come right back down into the spring.
I think just like normal, right?
Yeah.
Quarter 3, 4 and 1 are going
Yeah.
to be your slowest quarters, and you're going to get into spring, and it's going to pick back up. But
one thing to keep in mind when you're doing these days on market, as the days on market rise, contingent offers get a lot harder. Because you're putting a house under contract and then you got to sell your house. And if you're another 90 days from the time and if they were on for 60 days, I mean,
They're near
it can
impossible
be
to.
stretched
I
out.
have not done one contingent offer where I didn't already have the other person's house under contract.
Yep.
Before if their house isn't under contract, I haven't had luck getting those accepted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just 'cause you can't. It's just too far of a time frame.
Too many unknowns for a seller to be like, yeah, let's pull
Definitely
my
if
house.
they're not listed as well. If somebody
Yeah.
doesn't have their house listed, it's like, well, it's not even worth it probably.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Median sales price. This is the point at which half the sell. Actually, if you line up all the sales, then you just start knocking them off front to back until you get to a center point. That's how you get the median sales price. September of 2024 was 507,000. September of 2025 is 512,500 for an increase of 1.1%, which that's Peyton's question is why, if everything's going down, are our sales prices
Why
still
are
creeping
average
up?
days going
So, but
up,
the sales price
is going
did
up?
go down month over month.
Correct. Well, month over month, yes, we are changing down, but year to year, we've rised.
I just want to, but even in 2024, median sales price went up between August and September. So I would be aware of that it's not quite as cut and dry as saying prices are going up.
Well, I mean, obviously, you have your yearly sweeps. We talk about our fall and our spring, but over the graph of the longer timeline, your bigger sample period, people are always saying, "Oh, I'm just going to wait. Prices have got to come down. Things have got to get cheaper for these kids." They're not. Year over year, we're still climbing, right?
Yeah, that is interesting what you pointed out. But I think I'm not that concerned about the median sales price. It's the average sales price. It's got me like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a big jump.
Who's got that one?
Me. So average sales price in September 2024, was 638,409. September 2025, it's a 12% increase.
The puzzle.
12% increase to $716,000. And so this is, I'm sure we'll spend some time here talking about this, but what do you guys think? Why would average days on market be going up? Homes are taking longer to sell, but the average sales price is also trending up.
I think simple answer: inflation. Everything's more expensive.
Okay.
I.e., your mass majority of houses being sold and built right now are being done by a lot of your commercial builders.
Sure.
And so prices have just gone up.
I think that's a huge talking point because I have people looking to build right now, and just their straight numbers, like hard cost to build a house right now is insane compared to buying a house that's say 5 years old. Like it's definitely like that new car scenario where it's like you're paying a premium, and if you wanted to sell it, like you might not be able to sell it for more than you paid for it. Versus in 2022 or 2020, you'd build a house, and then you'd be like, "Holy cow, this is worth."
Yeah,
I was talking to
$100,000 equity.
I was talking to a builder recently. He's like, the houses were flying off so fast. He's like, I added $100,000 onto one, and the buyer was like, okay, like,
yeah,
and that was back when things were just crazy, and we're definitely not there right now. But it's shocking that the average sales price. I mean, we are the highest we've ever been
in history
on our average sales price. And I don't know which one's better. Like average, you take all the properties, add them up, divided by the number of inputs. And maybe this is just because there are more and more multi-million-dollar homes selling more frequently. And it seems like at first there was like a $20 million house that sold, and then 30, like all of a sudden, like it's not uncommon to see these double-digit millions of dollars of homes selling. And
the gap between what a median home is and the higher end home, I think, is getting larger.
So
do you wonder if people who have bought homes that might be a little bit cheaper aren't in a financial position to sell that home and get into anything newer or better? For example, I just went on a dirt bike ride, and talking with him, makes good money, has a great job, bought a home in 2017 for $240,000, 3-bed, 2-bath house. His total payment for that property is $1,300 a month. Blech. For him, he's like, it's not my ideal home. It's not where I want to be, but I don't want to pay $3,000 for a mortgage. So for me to continue to do all the things that I want to do with my wife and my kids and go out and have a good time, I don't want to sell my house, because even though I can take whatever $200,000 of equity, that amount of equity still won't get you a $1,300 payment.
So what you're saying is that median level.
I'm wondering if people are not selling it because it might not be ideal, but it works, and it allows them to still
out of
live.
necessity, not out of vanity, right now.
Maybe. And that
knocks the sellers down.
Sure.
So you have a lot smaller you
have less cheaper homes selling.
and then more expensive homes selling because
I agree, and it could be too that we're just seeing the gap between the middle class and the low class, like the median people are getting like
Sure.
squoze, like prices have gone up, wages haven't really jumped up, but you have like the affluent that it seems like they seem to be doing pretty good. So it's like the gap in the middle is getting bigger.
affluent. You're gonna have to define that one for me. Rich?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds
The
better.
rich. But so here's another report we've never really dove into and looked at. It's called the Housing Supply Overview. But this is interesting. September 2025. And this breaks it down by price range. So closed sales, homes over $1 million. There were 8% more sales in September 2025, homes over $1 million. And homes over 1.5 million, 24% increase in closed sales over 1.5. That's probably what's pulling our average sales price up. It's not that it could just be that we're having more luxury homes in that mix, right?
I think it's inflation. I think an $850,000, $900,000 home 3-4 years ago is
The 1.5.
Yeah, it's a $1.5 million home.
And the days on market dropped down 5.7% on homes that were 1.5 million and above. So days on market came down. So it's almost like that higher end house is selling easier. I don't know.
Are you on the internet machine?
Yeah.
Can I steal your? Are you on UtahRealEstate.com? Keep going.
What if it's like Ben was talking about, the $800,000 home back 7-8 years ago is now worth 1.5, give or take.
Inflation.
What if there's just more of those homes on the market, like just in general, right? In the market, there's just more of those houses at that price range because 7-8 years ago there was a lot of building or whatever it is, and that's what they built. Where you see it now, right? There's a lot of homes being built. No house is being built for 300,000.
No, not possible.
Everything's being built right now for 5 to 8, 9, $1 million, maybe, right? That's where your biggest price range is. So maybe, in 8 years from now, you're going to see a big sale of those homes.
Possible.
I don't know.
Be. I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking, like in order to build now, it just costs so much more. And I think there is a huge gap between homes that were built, say, in 2020 and people that are building now. Like when I used to frame houses in 2012, like you could build a good house for under like $200 a square foot.
Sure.
And now it's like a luxury home. Like I'm hearing people getting quotes for $600 to $700 a square foot. Like
Makes you sick.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I was talking to Ben about this a while ago, back when we were pulling wire. Like a spec home now has 40 cans in it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? A spec home back then,
That's
it was
true.
12 boob lights in it, and that's what you had. You know
Well,
what I mean?
you go through a house in the 80s, and they didn't even have a light in the living room.
Sure.
It was
A switched outlet.
Yep.
Yeah. So also, and then bathrooms, they had like 2 or 3 bathrooms instead of a bathroom in all the bedrooms. Like every bedroom has an ensuite.
Yep. And so I feel like these spec homes are becoming
So maybe we're just getting more bougie.
Jinx.
All right.
As a quick, this isn't that much of a different. For Utah MLS, the amount of cash sales last year for September of 2024 was 18%, 17.98. Where September of 2025, we're at 19%. I don't know if that's. I just was wondering. If
Yeah,
like
what
that,
cash?
If the affluent, I was wondering if the interest rates being high and the reason people are buying more expensive houses is if they were buying luxury houses in cash. I'm not certain if that. I'm just wondering that because that's typically what it.
I didn't know it was 18% though. That's interesting.
That's just
Almost
Utah
like-
MLS, so
yeah.
it's just there's a little bit of
And
like
that-
them correcting the information.
Interesting.
All right. Let's get going. Cade derailed us there. It's all his fault. Percent of original list price received. So the percent found when dividing the property sales price by its original list price, then taking the average of all properties sold in a given month, not accounting for seller concessions. So if you get 10,000 or 20,000 seller paid closing costs, this number does not take that into account. So September of 24, people are getting 96.7% of their asking price. September of 2025, they're getting 95.9% of their asking price. So same story that we've been hearing over and over. Sellers are getting bruised and beat up and softened a little bit, as according to these numbers, and being willing to negotiate a little more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Next
Yep.
is the Housing Affordability Index. This index measures housing affordability for the region. For example, an index of 120 means the median household income is 120% of what is necessary to qualify for the median priced home under the prevailing interest rates. A higher number means greater affordability. So September of 2024, it was 78. We are down 2.6% to 76, meaning we are 2.6% less affordable.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah, but a skyrocket from the last 4 or 5 months. Like going from 73 to 76 is quite a bit,
Sure.
which is because of the interest rates, I assume.
Yeah, I guess we were 72 back in July.
A good calculation we ought to do on this, we ought to get the median household income, we ought to get the median household price, and then see what a 1 point moving on this index means money-wise per given month.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it'll change every month as everything flows and changes, but wonder what a 76 to a 77, that's 2 points.
Yeah,
what
with
is that in a yearly income? Is that
Yeah.
$10,000 more dollars, $20,000 more dollars?
How much more do you need to make?
Yep. How much more you need to make?
Well, and that's why
per
it's
point
felt so
to keep
hard,
up.
like for investors, for just people wanting to get into their first time house. Like it's felt expensive, and it's because it is.
It is.
It's very.
We've talked about this before. I mean, your average mortgage is $3,000 probably.
Yeah.
You know?
Or more?
Oh, or more. Yeah.
So,
I would. I
Like,
see
Your
more
lower
of
ends are
Like, I remember
27 to
when
35.
my brother built and his mortgage was $2,000, and I was like, holy crap, that's expensive.
Yeah.
And
Now you're.
now
like-
I'm like, I would give anything to have a $2,000 mortgage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I remember when you were under 1,000. I did a number of those deals, which was crazy.
I was too little, did it?
All right, inventory of homes for sale. The number of properties available for sale in active status at the end of a given month were up 16.4%. More homes sitting and still available.
Tracks.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got
Cool.
month supply.
A month's supply of inventory, the inventory of homes for sale at the end of a given month divided by the average monthly pending sales from the last 12 months. For September of 2025 was 4.6. For September of 2024 was 4.0, so an increase of about 15%.
All right.
More month supply of
We had a bet on this, the four of us, I think, last month, Matthew. So when we get done here, you're going to have to pull that video up and see who won that bet
had
month
a
to
bet.
month. Or
I
did
thought we were doing it at the end of the year.
Is it the end of the year?
Yeah.
It was
Ooh, all right. Well,
What was the bet? I don't even remember the bet.
I can't either. Yeah.
yeah, where
Bunch
Of
of
month
degenerate
supply?
gamblers
Yeah.
in here. Don't even know what they're betting on.
remember
I'm
what it was.
desperate. I need the money
Yeah.
pretty bad. So.
I don't even know what we were betting on.
But I mean, we are 4.6. I mean, we've been at that in June, July, but that's kind of the highest number we've been at for a while. Anything under a 6 is still considered a buyer's market, but there are areas where you're for sure in.
Seller's
Anything,
market,
anything
right?
under six is sellers.
Anything under a 6 is sellers, yeah. But there are areas where you're for sure in a buyer's market where buyers have more leverage, and it almost feels like it is more of a buyer's market right now. This is just
I think so.
yeah.
See, and I don't. I feel like it's just a stagnant market. And the well-qualified, cash-heavy buyers, it's their market, but not a buyer's market,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think once you start creeping to that 6 months,
Because sellers are still getting
Exactly.
95%. Like, let's say you put up an item on Facebook.
95%, but then they're also losing money in closing costs as well.
Yeah, but
If.
so you put up something on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
You're trying to sell something, and you're asking $100, and you get $95. Like that's still pretty good.
You would actually get like what 93,
if you're counting
92. Sure, but
Yeah,
no,
but
I'm just
concessions-
saying that. But then you
concessions-
push this to a bigger scale of a $500,000 home.
Yeah, it's
and
a
now,
lot.
And now you're losing $50,000 almost.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's significant.
Yeah.
So to me, I disagree. I think it's more of a buyer's market. Even though it's a stagnant market, I do agree with that 100%. It is a stagnant market, but I do think that a stagnant market produces more of a buyer's market.
It could.
I think a buyer is able right now, in my opinion, I think a buyer is able to get a better deal, right, on a house.
I agree with that.
And they have room to negotiate. They don't have to rush. They have room to get closing costs, and most likely on top of closing costs, get a purchase price that's less than asking.
And I 100% agree with that. If the buyer has the ability to beat up the sellers a little bit more than usual right now,
Yes.
but they don't have the ability to buy overall in general.
Sure.
So-
It's still unaffordable.
So
Is that what you're...
exactly. So it's still unaffordable, and I think that by going up over that 6 month, it really starts affecting that price
Where it would
overall,
pull it down.
which makes the buying power that's where I think it'll actually kick in the.
But I
buyer's
wonder
market
if
section.
when it does that, because we still have such an influx of buyers waiting, if that's going to make more buyers flood the market.
Well, you might flood the market, but here's the thing: what's silly about what we do in real estate is value, right? Value is a competent buyer to a competent seller, right? Prices get pushed down. You start selling a house in a neighborhood, and this house just sold for $800,000 when all these were listed for $900,000, and they're identical or same comps. They're going to start beating up, and you're going to see it drive down until you have another stagnant, and you might see it drive up. It's crazy, and I see it in a lot of spec builders right now are having a hard time with appraisals because your bigger guys are cutting their costs, or they're needing to get out of all these spec homes, and so now they're selling them and ruining comps for other people.
Yep.
Which that's the nature of the game, right? That's how values go down. Is people are starting to willingly sell their houses for less, meaning that now your house, and the neighbor next door, and the other comparable sales are going to go down. Which it's gross to say that, right? Everybody. But that's the reality.
That's
of
the
it.
reality. Yeah. So it's like the definition of a buyer's market and a seller's market is who do you feel bad for more right now? I think sellers still have it pretty good. Prices are still going up. They've been increasing from last year. We're at we just hit an all-time high on the average. So even though a seller is still walking away with 5% less, you're like, oh, poor seller.
But they're up potentially 12%.
Yeah,
from
you're
last year.
selling at an all-time high. So even though, and the seller probably bought this house for pennies on the dollar, years ago. And so I think the definition is like who has it worse right now. And I still think the sellers have a little bit more leverage. And again, I think it depends on who wants it worse. Like it can be situational.
Yes.
Did they buy their house 2 years ago?
On
10
average,
years?
sellers are still holding a little bit more of the power than buyers right now. Would you agree?
They're coming out of the deal less scathed than a buyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing how long have you been a real estate agent? 5 years?
5, 4, 3, 2.
And you've been an agent for 5?
Going on 5 years.
How long has your wife been an agent?
Going on 5 years.
So all of it's your opinion that matters more than anybody else. Because from the way that I perceive this market, like the affordability is terrible, but the way that buyers and sellers are interacting seem to be more normal, like in more normal spheres it would have been pre-pandemic, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the only hard thing is all of our entire view on like how real estate works is so skewed from the huge roller coaster.
We've all come from basically pandemic to now. And so we've seen, like you said,
But we talked about this in our meeting today, and I prefer the market how it is now than it was in 2022.
But the question would be more, do you feel like the market now is more comparable back to 2017? Or how do you...
Yeah, so I got in 2012, and I just rode the wave up, and then it's calmed down. But I haven't been through a terrible cycle,
You got in right after, huh?
I got in right after as things started to pick up. So I wasn't in it in 2008. My dad was he did developing, and it just kind of shut off. Things got quiet, and we're definitely not where things shut off. We're not at 140 days on market. We're at 65.
Right.
It would have to get double as long, and then you're like, okay, seller, do you want to sell for this, or do you want to sit on the market for 6 months? And what does 6 months of sitting on the market do to you? What do those holding costs look like to you? And you're like, man, do you rip the Band-Aid off, or you just slowly bleed out?
And our inventory of homes is still half of what it was in 08. Right? I still feel like we're
a long shot.
We're a long ways away
Yeah.
from a giant market bubble.
I think we're in a healthy spot, honestly. I think
Yeah.
we're in a pretty...
That's all I was getting at. Was
Yeah.
like all of these conversations are good and valuable, but like there's nothing to this. This market's actually less wonky, I feel like, than the market back in 2020.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what we're struggling with as a brokerage, like, and we all, that's why I wanted to have everybody in here, is we all have listings, and it's like they're just sitting, right? For the most part. Some of them are going, but they're like, for sellers, and I think that's what we need to get across, is it is not like you list it and you sell it anymore, right? We're doing multiple open house. Like there's all these things that we're trying and like push it out there and get it out there. But sellers need to be realistic on if they want to get it moved, they're going to have to be priced competitively. We need to look at the actives. Like, what does their active competition look like right now? Because the comps might be great in the neighborhood, but if their neighbor lists 50 grand less than the comps that sold, like that is the new comp.
Yep.
That is their new competition. And like you said, the neighbor, a builder, like they can mess it up pretty bad for, for
You know,
a whole-
they're paying a heavy construction interest.
yeah,
And at a certain time point, they just go, I would rather take a $20,000 loss on my build
Yeah.
and get the $400,000 cash I have in this house out
yeah.
so I can do something else with my money.
Yep.
But while it's locked up, they're just slow bleeding.
And that's where I think the strategy comes in. Like if you have a house for sale in the neighborhood, this is an example. What if there's, you know, another house very similar for sale in the same neighborhood, and those sellers are going through a divorce? Like who's going to be more motivated? And it can be a race to the bottom, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And anyways, it's very interesting how this market's running. So I guess let's jump into like your advice for buyers and sellers. What's your take? What if you're a seller right now? What do you do? And if you're a buyer right now, what do you do? We'll start with Ben.
If I'm meeting with a seller right now, the biggest thing is I talk to them about reality of price and watching the market, right? This market changes week to week, month to month, day to day. Your micro market changes every day, right? You might have 3 different listings come up in the same week. So you need to be able to pivot and be okay with it. A lot of sellers get stuck on a price they want in their head and they go to sell. Another big pitfall I'm seeing right now is sellers are going, yeah, I'll sell, but I have to get this in order to get what I want. I understand that and people do that, but that's not reality. That's not how the market works. You can put your house up, but you're going to have a lot of heartache and rough road ahead of you. So,
And the showings do take a toll on you.
oh yeah, and the showings will take a toll on you. So,
Yeah.
so your house will still show, and then you'll just get feedback saying you're asinine.
Yeah.
That's what, because people are going, why is this house X amount if you're overpriced? Get in and then go, yeah, hell no, I'm not going to buy that. You're
Right.
up in the night.
Yeah.
Because there's 4 other ones down the street
Yeah.
for X.
You have to be very realistic right now. What's your take, Cade?
On sellers or buyers?
Both.
Sellers, both. Sellers, I agree. You got to be realistic on your price. I think you're kind of coming from the 2020, 2021 market. People like sellers feel like they could just basically throw it up and it would go. It's not going to happen that way anymore. You got to be able to be realistic, list aggressively to get ahead of the market. And like Ben said, just be willing to work with the market, because the market is going to tell you if you're overpriced. If you're on the market 2 weeks and you're slow, you're really slow, open house was slow, no showing, stuff like that, like you're priced too high. And then as a buyer, so I actually had a conversation this morning at the gym with a kid who I heard them talking back and forth like, oh, I can't buy a house. It's just too expensive. Or we looked, it's nobody's selling homes because they're too expensive. And I'm like, well, that's just not true. Like, houses are moving. They are expensive and it is hard to get into one. But as a buyer, you need to start the conversation with a lender. You got to talk with them because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't ever start the conversation with a lender, and you also got to remember, like, you can qualify with a lender at, say, whatever X price. But right now you're also getting closing costs on top of that, which can make everything more affordable. And I think people buyers, especially new buyers that aren't in the market, they don't know that. They don't understand that like you can get money from the seller to make whatever it is you're trying to buy more affordable. And so that was my conversation with them is like, you don't just have to, one, pay the price that's listed, and two, you can get money from the seller to help make it affordable, or at least more affordable. And to talk with a lender, at least get the ball rolling so you have an idea as to where you're at.
Yeah, you need to have accurate data to run
Yeah.
with. What's your take?
I think all that advice is good advice. Yeah, I don't. It's you gotta know what you're doing on your listing, and probably be more realistic on your price in general. I think a lot of people got a lot of really wonky numbers in their mind right now.
You have a lot of listings right now. How has it been on yours? Like a lot of activity, or
I think that if the ones you price aggressively or the ones you price correctly seem to get enough attention that you feel comfortable about all of it. But there's like a threshold that the second you cross that threshold, almost all of your demand is going to just disappear.
just dies? Yeah.
And that's what we've been working
you
with.
can't like shoot like it used to be like, oh, comps are here. Let's see if we can like push the envelope a little bit.
There's no pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think with buyers, talking to a lender, and then also if you can go into it with a realistic mindset for buyers too, on if you're trying to get into a house, these are the realistic things that you can get at a house for that price range. Because I think a lot of first-time home buyers I'm running into is they want a gorgeous, clean, brand new house, and my first house wasn't a gorgeous, clean house. I don't know if anybody else's was.
You grew up in Vernal, so I mean, they don't have those up there.
I'll bet mine was worse than yours.
But I think especially first-time home buyers, they've got a really weird sense of
Do you think
having
that's
a nice
all
house.
first-time home buyers, or
I think it's everybody.
a lot of buyers just in general. Like I think you're seeing
so?
people aren't dumb, right? We talk like we're these smart realtors, and people have a fairly good pulse on the market, right? They can feel it in their stores, their jobs. And I think people see that there's some blood in the water for sellers right now. And I think the ones that are buying are going in unrealistic with, hey, let's offer them $200,000 under their ask price. And then they're like, what the hell? They didn't like my offer?
Yeah.
Like they're going to be on the market forever. Well, yeah, but they
Maybe.
could wait for 6 months. If they
Yeah.
get another $100,000,
yeah.
it might be worth it. So there's a realistic to the buyer side too. I agree.
And I think it all comes from the second that somebody starts thinking about buying a house, they start seeing social media on buying a house, and all the social media on buying a house now
it's
is
bad.
wonky or like crazy. Instead of, I do think that you sit down with the lender, a realistic good lender, sitting down with an agent, a realistic good agent, and getting a plan of attack. Otherwise, as a buyer too, you're just going to be in a situation where you're doing crazy stuff and just not getting into a house.
Yep.
I think some people have a hard time buying a home that might be a first time type home, a starter home. That's $450,000, $500,000. I think people have a hard time grasping that's how much it's costing. Now.
That's the bottom end of the starter home. Yeah.
Like I had a conversation recently. We went and toured a home, and it was $475,000, and I said, like, this is roughly the starting price on a home in this area. And I think she understood that, but it was also hard for them to grasp that this is kind of where we're at.
You're spending $500,000.
Yes.
You're not getting the best home in your
Sure.
dreams.
And
it might be dirty. It might
needs
be beat
work.
up. It might be old. Yeah.
So I think it's hard for people to grasp and understand that that's just kind of where the market is right now, even though the market's cooled and it's fairly stagnant, and you can get a good deal on a property as a buyer, I think, but it's still expensive.
Don't you think that's a time of like the tell of time though? Like when I bought my first house, my dad was like, 180 grand. Holy crap. My first house was 14 grand.
Yeah, I think this one's a little different.
Yeah, your affordability index being so low is wonky for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason it's feeling so far off is because of the gap on the affordability.
Correct. The median income to the median price has separated.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean,
Rates were 23% when I bought my house.
Yeah, but the house was $15,000.
Yeah, your payments were $8 a month.
But what does happen if interest rates actually do go down to 5 or like
prices are going to go up.
Well, I get
I
that,
don't think so.
Yeah,
I think the feds, hopefully, I mean, praise
If they
Allah,
drop
Buddha,
them,
whoever you talk to.
if they drop them too far, if they go below 5, the prices will go up. If they're in the 5s, I think we'll be comfortable.
That's
Correct.
At 5, what is the affordability? Do we get up to 85 or 90 at that point?
No,
What's the threshold? Let me ask you guys this: what do you guys think is the threshold of interest rates to where you start seeing buyers jumping in?
I actually was listening to a podcast. Yeah, I listened to it. So right now, unemployment is great for the market as far as curbing inflation and stuff like that. As inflation gets curbed, the feds are always late to the game, right? So then they'll start lowering rates accordingly. And if they do it responsibly, they'll start lowering until they see any uptick in the market. And at that point, then they're going to pull back and jump back up a second until it pauses again. And they will chase it backwards. That's why I say I don't think, from what they've seen, if they stay responsible, they're going to lower rates and basically keep their foot on our neck until we get to a happier place. But even then, they're never going to just drop rates drastically because that'll create the problem.
2020.
And now look at the problem we're in.
I know.
Yep.
So hopefully
what
they
you're
learned
saying,
from their. But that's what happened in 2020. They dropped it crazy, and then everybody flooded into the market.
so what you're saying is they're going to drop them slowly,
Absolutely.
and then
They'll watch their
the
market.
500,000 buyers or whatever it is, they're going to enter the market periodically,
Which should push prices up. Hopefully not crazy. Hopefully not
but it might
double.
keep it at 2, 3, 4%.
They
Ideally.
try to keep it a 1.5 to a 2% increase on inflation, curb the inflation. It's a slow ramp. They're trying to restart the economy with a slow ramp.
So that way you won't have like
a mass.
a dump of buyers
Correct.
because rates hit 5.5 or whatever it is.
And I think they're almost going to be cautious in the air of, I think we're going to be in another, just like that podcast, but it made sense, of a 4 to 5 year
Run.
painful cycle of this. And I think we'll probably settle mid 5s over that 4 to 5 year. But think about it. Everyone's like, oh, we're going to mid 5s, it'll be great. But if that mid 5s takes 4 to 5 years, you're not going to see that inrush. You're not going to see, people fighting over houses because they're going to just.
If they keep us in the 5s, I think we'll be fine.
Yep.
But if they get stupid and go into the 4s, it'd be great.
It takes one election cycle. It takes.
Oh
I mean,
gosh.
it's just that's what's crazy is, the wealth growth too, right? We're in a cycle where every time something changes is when people get wealthy, right? You just got to know when and where to be. And I don't know where to be right now. So I'm not wealthy.
Say,
Peyton does.
I don't. Anyways, it's an interesting market. It's a tough one to navigate. I mean, you have to do what's best for you and your family. Money is important. The price you pay is important, but I think time is our most valuable thing, and where you live matters. The neighborhood that you live matters. The school that your kids go to matter, and price is one of those factors. Oftentimes we lean too hard on like the price part, and it's like, okay, but there are adjustments or things that you can do or sacrifices that you can make to make this work. And I do think our situation will get better, but right now it's a tough market to be in. But we've all been in there. Like, you bought a house in the past. I mean, it's just over a year.
Yep.
I'm still within the first year of buying a house. Like, I know how it feels
yep.
to spend a lot of money.
So I did this poll a little while back, and I asked all homeowners if when you bought your last house, whatever that was, first home, next home, whatever it was, did you regret buying it when you did? Do you wish you would have waited longer? And not one person said yes. And so, and obviously I think that's like, to us, it's obvious. No duh, because you're making money in the market, but at the same time, but all first-time home buyers and people who are waiting for the rates to come down, waiting for whatever it is. I don't know. Yes, right. But nobody regretted buying the home when they did.
Right, yeah.
Okay, you guys, any last words of wisdom?
Ben, do you want to talk more about it for about 10 minutes? Or?
No, my caffeine's starting to hit me. The coffee's going through me. Peyton told me this is going to be a 20-minute podcast. We're like on 2 hours.
It never is.
Yeah, it never
we love
is.
talking. We're all best friends.
It's been great. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
I love you.